Alright, in this video I'm going to be listening to Logic's new album. It has 30 songs on it, so there's a few things that I'm going to talk about just beforehand. You can skip straight to the reaction and the timestamps I'm going to have below the screen, but generally people believe that Logic has been falling off, and I'm going to make a video about this soon. But his most recent album, there was a dip, but before that, it seems as though he was consistently getting a really good amount of streams. So again, with this album having 30 songs on it, he mentioned that Confessions of a Dangerous Mind was like a social experiment and whatnot. Having 30 songs on the album's probably going to do very well, because as J. Cole had criticized some artists for, when you put that many songs on an album, the statistics are going to be really good, but the per song statistics might be much worse. Basically, it's a cheat code to get a platinum album, to get good album streams and sales and everything like that, but it's not really to the same degree as someone who made like a 12-song album. Now, the two reasons for this are either that Logic doesn't care and he was just releasing these songs because he wanted to, or that he wanted to get a guaranteed platinum album so he could mention it and kind of hold that over people's heads. But at the same time, again, this is 30 songs. It seems like a strange move coming from Logic to do a 30-song album, but if it's what he wants, that's fine. To start off, I'm going to be reacting to the singles that he put out before the album, and then I'll get to all the new songs right after. Alright, so the single Tetris reminded me of The Incredible True Story and Under Pressure to some extent. I recently listened to both those albums because, as I said, I am working on a video about Logic specifically, but it just seems like kind of the production behind it was around that time with a little more boom bap to it, is how I would describe it. It was kind of refreshing to hear Logic go back to that, because it feels as though whether or not it's Logic not making the same type of music, the narrative behind it is that Logic isn't doing what he used to be doing, and to some extent I feel like I haven't enjoyed as many of his songs as I would in the past. So Tetris feels like it was a throwback song, and it sounded very good. Also, one more detail I want to throw in there. This has to do with even the outro and the voicemail that he has at the end. It all fits that time frame. I have Decades playing in the background right now, but some of my thoughts on it are just that it's really, in my opinion, based on the old albums I listened to, it seems as though when Logic does it a little bit slower, takes it slow, kind of just tells you about his thoughts, he can pick up the pace, that's fine, but he has to have like a slow element to his music, and for some reason it just makes him way better. I feel as though part of why people originally got into Logic, I don't know if it's the case for some of his fans nowadays, but it was kind of all of the just running through his mind was really interesting and everything like that. And I feel as though when he goes slow, it makes it more obvious that that's what he's doing. So with the song Decades, I think it's really enjoyable. I don't know if it's going to be as mainstream as his other ones, such as Tetris, but I think this is one that his old fans will appreciate. All right, so with the song Vinyl Days, I feel as though it's going to be hard to kind of explain this one. I don't mind it. I probably would leave it on if it came on at this moment, but it feels as though it's similar to the other one in the sense that it's slow, but it doesn't really have the same appeal as the other one. He's going through his thoughts is what it seems like, but just to me, this is my best guess for why I don't like it, because I can't really put a finger on it. I feel as though it's that it feels as though he has certain things he wants to mention, and it's not really him just thinking, it's him wanting to do a bunch of similes and a bunch of hit a bunch of check marks on what he's saying and everything like that. Now, this could just be me. Again, I'm trying to figure out what it is that I don't like about it. And also, a question I have for you guys before I continue is, in the comments, if you could put when you became a Logic fan, because I feel as though Logic had a different fan base in the earlier days than he did towards the later stages of his career, and now in post-retirement, I don't know exactly what his audience is. I only say this because it feels as though Logic is trying to go back to his older days, but this particular one just didn't quite do it for me. Alright, Orville sounds like another song that he would have put out a while ago in terms of the production on it. I think the only complaint I have is I wasn't the biggest fan of the feature, but that's not Logic, so we'll move on to the next one. Alright, with Breath Control featuring Wiz Khalifa, not comparing this to old Logic or anything, this is just a good track. I feel like Logic is really good when he works with Wiz Khalifa. With that being said, in the backer end of the song, I didn't really like the beat change, but Logic was known to do that a while ago, every once in a while. I didn't like all the sirens or whatever it was in the background and all that. A lot of people do that. I don't feel it. All right, so for the first song, we have Danger by Logic with an intro by Morgan Freeman. Not too much to say about the intro, so we're going to go to In My Lifetime. All right, so with that song featuring Action Bronson, I have no complaints. It definitely wasn't the old style, I wouldn't say, for Logic. Maybe it was old before any of the albums he had on Spotify and the ones where I started listening to, because he did have some Frank Sinatra albums, but I did enjoy that song. In My Lifetime was definitely meant to be like a real throwback track, but we're gonna get on to the next track, JJ Abrahams. JJ Abrahams was an interlude, so on to the next one, Black White Boy. Oh my god, we know what this is gonna be. Okay, so Black White Boy was an interesting track. I don't think it had the most amazing sound, but he was talking about interesting topics about halfway through the song until all the way to the end of it. Basically the problems that he had with modern rap and the fan base and everything to do with it, a lot of the labels and everything that he had problems with. And then he also talked about some frustrations with people talking about how he changed, his music isn't the same, everything like that, which is great. That's gonna help me a lot for the video I was making, so now I can actually kind of put a finger on what exactly it is. He said he didn't want to keep making the same thing over and over and over again, and I understand what he means by that. He did very clearly pivot how he makes his music. The thing is, I think people act like he pivoted his style a ton. He did definitely pivot his style. He's gonna end up disagreeing with this if he watches this. I feel as though the way he pivoted is he wanted more pop stuff, more radio hits. And he, like I said, this is probably something that he would very much disagree with, but it just feels like a lot of his songs were meant for more of like a mainstream audience, were meant to be less rap heavy, less to do with him and the things he cares about, kind of. That's gonna be a loose statement as well. I'm going to talk about it in the other video. So if you're really interested in this, we can talk about it later. But we're going to move on to Quasi. Again, I don't think Black and White Boy was bad. It didn't sound great to me. It didn't impress me. The only thing that made it worth listening to, I'm not going to go back to it unless I want to hear everything he said about halfway through it to the end of it again, because I do find that quite interesting. I like people talking about stuff that actually goes on with them. But yeah, we're on to Quasi. Quasi's a track where Logic is basically saying that people want, or at least he wants, Quasimodo, I believe, is the producer back, and he used to make some rap albums. I'm not very familiar. Obviously, he's just past my time, but I'm gonna check him out now. It was an interesting track. I might actually add it and replay it a few times, and I'm definitely gonna check out who Quasi is. But again, I don't know who he is at the moment, so not too much to say about that. I don't believe he's one of the producers that helped Logic early on, but many people were saying that he needs that producer back. I don't know if he's in the picture or on this album at all, but we're gonna go straight into the next song, Bleed It. All right, so I think Bleed It is a fun little experimental track that I'm never gonna listen to again, but that's all I really have to say about it. Every artist has to experiment, everything like that. I'm not hating on Logic for it, but I don't think this was meant to be a track, really. I don't know if any of this album is meant to be for, you know, the mainstream rap or anything like that. It sounds like, at least up until this point, he's kind of doing whatever he wants. Bleed It is definitely an experimental one. Can't complain about an artist experimenting, especially on a 30-track album. I would hope that he tries something different, but that one is not going to do it for me. Next, we're on La Donda. Okay, so on La Donda, I actually do really like this track. It's not really a stereotypical thing. It's not his usual sound by any means. Again, I would describe it as experimental. Logic kind of playing with the sound that he wants. He talks about Logic. No, he does not. He talks about Anthony Fantano and his big old bald spot and everything like that. And then he goes on to talk about how he was really listening to a bunch of the fans who were criticizing him and Anthony Fantano's fan base. He had a conversation with Anthony Fantano where he explained that he's just voicing his opinion and it doesn't need to mean anything to Logic. It shouldn't mean anything to Logic. Logic is doing what he does. He's still doing tremendous numbers, so it shouldn't matter what certain people think and that their opinion's just their opinion and they're going to be honest with it going forward. And then Logic kind of comes to the realization that honesty is all that matters. Then Logic goes on to talk about how he feels as though honesty is all that really matters, but it's almost as if he describes Anthony Fantano's fan base as sheepish. And I think sometimes a lot of people who consume certain content are looking for opinions rather than forming one themselves. So they'll go and they'll watch a Fantano video and they'll listen to him say, oh, this album's trash, this and that, and then they'll go on and that will be what they get from that without even listening to Logic's music. Or after listening to Logic's music, they'll be like, damn, like, it's really popular, I think it's bad. So they go to school the next day and they're like, if their friends mention it, they'll be like, yeah, I thought it was bad, or something like that, which I think a lot of people won't admit, but they're guilty of, where they'll think something's good, but then when someone else at the lunch table says it's bad, they feel pressured to just go with them or anything like that. And I feel as though fans and criticism is something that Logic really struggled with how to deal with and how to respond to throughout his career, but it seems as though now he's at a stage where he is just deciding that he doesn't care. And I'm not sure if that's good, I'm not sure if that's bad. You can think what you want of it, but it's better than responding the wrong way. With that being said, we're on to the next track. I think it's going to be an interlude. Aaron Judge. So I guess Aaron Judge is just a baseball player who invited Logic to come over and they'd work on beats or something like that. Not really sure too much about it, but we're going to move on to the next track, Clouds, featuring Langston, Bristol, and Currency. I think Cloud is a good track. It's got a real nice feel to it for the beginning, a good vibe to it, which is something that Logic used to be very good with. And then also, I don't really love the beat change, but I think the features, both of them did a wonderful job, and the beat change doesn't ruin the song. I'll still end up playing it multiple times. Micheal Rap is an interlude, so we're probably just going to skip that onto the next one. Actually, not going to lie, Micheal Rap was Micheal Rappaport. That was a kind of funny interlude. I would check that out. I would just, obviously, you should listen through the whole album yourself if that wasn't evident. I'm not really playing much of it. I'm just playing the songs in the background. Get your own opinion on it, but on to the next one. Therapy. Nope, we already heard that one. Therapy music featuring Ross. I thought that was actually a really good one. But we're going to move on to Tony Revolori. I would say easily the greatest track on this album. And honestly, we're not at the end of it yet, but I think it's pretty safe to say that this will end up being the best track on the album is Tony Revolori. It has an amazing feature. He shows off his voice a little bit. I'm talking about Tony here. It's kind of a heartbreaking tale between him and Logic. And they talk about it for a little bit. It goes on for a bit with a kind of surprise ending at the end there. I would say if you're going to listen to any song on this album, Tony Revolori should at the very least be one that you check out, because it's just a great song. I can't really fully explain it. The production was absolutely amazing. He has a nice voicemail there at the end. Tony Revolori seems to be quite the character, and he goes really well with the Logic Bobby Tarantino voice. Now we're going to listen to Rogue One, which sounds like it's an interlude as well. Okay, so Rogue One was absolutely not an interlude. It's a really good song. I do enjoy it. He has a very old school style on this. If you're a younger fan, this is going to be something that you haven't really heard before, but it sounds like it's from the Shook Ones era. I really enjoy how he did on this one. But I have to say, the producer, I don't know if it's DJ Drama, but I hate the producer just coming out and screaming on pretty much any song, but he's done it multiple times on this album. This is something I can't blame Logic for. I guess people like it because there's plenty of other songs that do well with it, but I am just so tired of it. But that being said, again, Rogue One is a good track, and we're going to move straight on to NEMS. All right, we're going to move straight on to Narduar because there's really nothing worth mentioning about NEMS. Okay, Narduar, at this point, I mean, it's a 30-song album, so I guess I should have expected this, but I really didn't for some reason. It's just too many interludes, trying to do too much, trying to be too funny. I want to hear the music, kind of. It feels as though it's almost majority interludes at this point. I don't know what the actual number is. I'll have it on the screen or something for you. This is not what I'm interested in. No, I'm not going to go back to the song because I have to listen through like a minute almost, or like 50 seconds of just babbling until I get to the actual verse. The verse can be anything. I'm not going to listen to it. So we're just going to move on to the next one. Kickstyle. He has a bunch of features on here. Big Lenbo on here. So he should actually be doing something. I'm not going to complain too much about Kickstyle. It's definitely another old school track, but not really much Logic on there. It was good. I mean, I had Big Lenbo and all that, but again, just not much Logic. I'm not going to complain about it. It was a good song. Not much Logic. Earlybird, whoever was talking, was very familiar for some reason. I feel like I've heard them talk a lot in the past before. I have no idea who it is. I couldn't think of it. Maybe it's not even someone who makes music. It could just be someone else who sounds familiar. But with that being said, it's just kind of another interlude. A pretty good little sample or like production on it, but not really too much to talk about here. This is the album of interludes. 10 Years sounds like it started with the Adam. Is it Adam 22? Adam 22, the No Jumper guy. It sounds like it started with him saying stuff that it was just like nonsense, but that was pretty funny. Okay, I might be wilding. 10 Years, Royce to 5'9". I've heard songs from him before. This one just sounds like it was recorded on a low quality mic or something. I don't know. Like, I'm listening to it right now. I have no explanation for this, really. It isn't really that great of a song in my opinion, but that was something I found interesting because we haven't heard many features. This one just sounded wrong. But next, we're going to just move on to Porta One with RZA. Okay, right now I'm still listening to Porta One. I'm like 30% through it right now. I feel like Logic also sounds low quality on this next one, and on the other ones it felt like it was an effect he was going for. On this one it just kind of feels low quality, so I wonder if he just tried to drop an album, because I think this is the one that gets him out of his contract. So I wonder if he was just trying to drop whatever. Also, like I said, it feels like it's like 60% interludes at this point. This one started, and it started as if it was an interlude, 3 minutes long. It has a feature on it, so we'll see as I get further through it. But right now, like, what are we doing? Okay, further into it, it's 2 minutes and starts as an interlude, so it feels like on a lot of these it's short songs, and either, if you're gonna argue they're not interludes, he's wasting a percentage of it or whatever, less actual music we're getting. And then this one, RZA, he did fine with his feature, but the thing is, it's just another old school song, which is fine. But like I said, it's 3 minutes. It feels like the beginning was kind of thrown away, and at this point I'm starting to question whether or not Logic actually tried on this album, because I could see there being a way that he didn't, But with that being said, I feel like he's disrespecting his features if that's what he's doing. Anyway, we're on to the next song, or interlude probably, Needle Drop. All right, this is going to be a hot take. We had the Anthony Fantano Needle Drop interlude, or whatever you want to call it, skit, because he loves throwing that word around. Anthony Fantano talks about how there's multiple other skits, and he talks about how he wants to be there for like consistency and almost to serve a purpose or anything like that, and not just to be on Logic's album. And I think a great way to say it is he was asking what is Logic's feature for the album, like, or what is his vision for the album, not feature. And I think this is a great question, because I'm how many songs in? We've only got like less than 10 left, maybe 7 left. We'll say we're on song like 23 here. A bunch of them are interludes. A bunch of them are old school. Some of them weren't. It doesn't really seem to have any consistency of these songs being with what the singles were hinting. The singles, for the most part, were good. I feel as though the new tracks I'm listening to are a bit underwhelming and missed for the most part. This is an underwhelming album. I feel as though Logic could have done much better. But we're going into this next one, introducing Nezi, and we have a Nezi feature. I'm wondering, yet again, I was questioning whether or not Logic was trying on this album. And he's doing a lot of the old styles, which is fine if that's what he wants to do. But did he have any message from this album besides saying that he doesn't like the current mumble rappers and everything like that in 5 different ways if he could? And then after that, not really having anything too special to say? I don't really think. Then I'm hoping that we can get a little bit more from these last few tracks. There is the last one called Sayonara, where I'm assuming he's just going to retire again. But let's hear introducing Nezi. All right, this is something I'm glad that he put out. So introducing Nezi. A great idea behind the song in introducing a young artist that you believe in, you think they sound good. I can't complain about that. Applaud him for that. Little couple claps right there. That's what we'll give him. But at some point he talks about haters on YouTube or whatever who have a podcast, don't have a podcast. So he's not talking about me, boys. But anyway, he's saying that haters will say whatever, say his music is bad, and that it's okay, Rat Pack, you don't have to defend me or anything like that. First of all, I'm more Rat Pack than anybody. I've been here since before some of the Spotify songs, the Young Sinatra albums, everything like that. And I'm still here for some godforsaken reason. With this album, I'm questioning why I'm doing it. And I have a couple other friends who like Logic, and they kind of fell off from him. And I've been saying that I don't think Logic actually got worse. But with this one, it's just like, it's baffling. It's really baffling. But he's going to go out here and he's going to say he doesn't care what I think or anything like that. And he doesn't care what anybody thinks. He's going to do his great song where he puts on Nezi. The song doesn't really sound that amazing. He has some interesting things he talks about. But if you notice, throughout this album, there's a lot of repeating topics. One thing he does is, I hate rap today, blah, 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 blah. Don't like a mumble rap, anything like that. Not enough lyrical stuff. And they'll go on and it'll be like, I'm murdering the bars, killing the bars, everybody. I'm doing, I'm unbelievable out here. I don't care what the haters say because I'm killing them with these bars. But you haven't had bars in like multiple albums, all right? Let's just be 100% clear. It's been lackluster. And I want to get to the bottom of it, which is why I'm working on an entire video on why I feel as though what happened with Logic. I'm not going to say he fell off. I'm not going to say he got worse. Because like I said, I was arguing with someone recently that Logic hasn't actually gotten worse. But we're going to get to that conversation in another video. My whole point is here. It's just so repetitive. It's unbelievably repetitive with some of the things he's saying. You don't have to care what I think. You don't. But I don't want to hear you go up here and be like, I got bars, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, clearly you haven't had bars. Your career is on a decline, and I don't want to see this. I'm not a hater. I've been on your side, and I've been trying to get other people on your side. One of my friends, I tried to get them to come listen to a 30-song album at midnight because I was like, you know what? This is Logic's chance to come back. We're going to see what Sayonara says, because I don't want Logic to be done on this, but it's just, can we not act like you still have an audience? You've still been doing streams on some of your albums. It's not like you're not doing anything. But to act like you're in your prime right now and you're putting out the best music you ever have, I feel as though the majority of people would disagree with that. Now, it is worth mentioning that you are doing those streams. You have an audience. But why are you getting so much hate towards your music and everything like that? I feel as though it's because you abandoned your initial audience. You just changed your ways. And not in a way of like experimenting, trying something new, and you just like packing it up and moving to an entire another genre or doing an entire other type of music that to everyone else it felt disingenuous. It's like, what happened to the old guy who did this, this, and that? And we would get like maybe a song to 3 songs on any album that sounded like that, which is fine. He used to have albums that were full of throughout 12 songs, 12 hits, which is impossible to do. Having these flawless albums is really difficult. The best artists that you listen to, you probably don't add every song from. But in the early days of Logic, the Under Pressure Logic, the Incredible True Story type of Logic, and even the album after that, I forget about it, I think it had Flexecution. These albums were almost all good. And maybe you would have one or two songs that you didn't add on them, but that's very hard to do. But now, coming all the way to today, where someone who has been listening to Logic since I was like 13 or 14, we're hearing this. It's a 30-song album, and I don't know how much of this I'm going back to. Now, again, I don't have to be the person that Logic is trying to impress. I don't have to. But it's just like, it feels just so wrong for someone. I can't think of any other rapper ever who has just abandoned their initial audience. There's outgrowing them, or the audience outgrowing them. The audience like outgrowing the artist, where like Lil Pump lost some of his fans. Maybe it's because they got older, right? But with Logic, I don't even feel like it's because they got older. It's because he abandoned them for an entire different style, and he got an entire different audience. So now he's got this one big group that doesn't like what Logic's doing, because they're like, you used to do this other stuff, and we loved it. We were like 12 for 12 on albums with it. Like, it was great. Even the interludes, people were interested in. And now he's doing these same things where it's like interlude on a 30-song album. We've got like, 15 interludes at this point. Again, I'm going to have the number on the screen of what total, because I don't care. I'm spoiling things here. But the whole point is, you can do your old style like you wanted to. Some of the songs on here were the Under Pressure style. But this album, it's not really that, and it's not what you used to do either very recently, where it was like more of a pop radio hit type thing. It's not the Suicide Hot Number line or anything like that. This is just a question mark. What are we getting here? Now, this could be Logic just doing whatever style he wants to. Again, I like this song where he's putting someone on. I like the idea behind it. It just doesn't sound good to me. And if you're going to dismiss everybody who criticizes your music as a hater, which I'm sure Logic doesn't, but it's just, I'm going to make a whole entire video on this. If you're interested in what I'm saying here, if you're the newer fan, I don't hate you, right? I don't have any problem with you. And even Logic, I don't have a problem with what he's doing in terms of transitioning to a different style of music. Now, this one, I'm sure he's just making whatever music he wants. And if I'm not pleased by it, so be it. It doesn't matter. What is he going to do to please me? Try to mimic his old style, and then he could possibly still fall short, because I feel as though he's tried to do that in the past. One of the problems with this is the people who don't like his music, they don't know what to tell him. Like or they don't try to tell him anything. They don't try to give him constructive criticism. They just say that we don't like it and that's the end of the story. The thing is, Logic, like I said, used to be 12 for 12. The problem is that we've fallen short of 12 for 12. That is something that isn't sustainable anyway, so you're going to have people hating on your music unreasonably no matter what. There's nothing that you can do about those particular people who are like, we're not getting a full album of all hits. It's going to be impossible to reach that again. And it's not sustainable for any artist ever to reach a full album of hits every single time. That's not what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is to have 3 or 4 songs that I add from every album. This one, you have a 30-song album. You got 3 or 4 from me. You got 3 or 4 that I'm going to add. I don't know how long I'm going to keep them, but still, to this day, it feels as though it's just like disingenuous for the majority of these songs. It's just not what you came up doing. It's not what you started off doing. And I'm wondering where this has even come from. Because there's it's like I said, some of these songs aren't even like the pop stuff. They're not like radio hits. They're not what you've done on the last few albums. So where is this coming from? Why is all you can talk about on half of these songs how the new school sucks, how you retired, and how you have incredible bars that nobody can stand with and you don't care what the haters say? It's so incredibly repetitive. Before it was almost like his songs were just him talking about where he was in life, him being like, oh, I had to come up, this happened, I saw my dreams come to life, stuff like that. Now it's none of the dreams coming to life. Nothing motivational in his music. There's no real vibe to half of his songs. Now it's just like, I'm so much better than these young rappers. I look at what I can do, this, and that. And if you go and you say, like, bro, I'm not interested in this, I'd rather listen to 21 Savage or something like that, he's like, man, these new school guys, they don't have lyrics, don't have anything like that. You don't either. Right now, all you're doing is complaining about the old school or the new school guys. And you're not really an old school guy either. You weren't amazing with your lyrics at certain points in your career. So, like, I don't understand. It's like, it feels as though this is going to be a real hot take, but it feels as though it's like an egotistical or cynical almost Logic where he's getting old and he's just tired of getting hated on, so he turned that into him hating on other things himself, which isn't that the whole thing that Logic was built on trying to avoid? Wasn't he supposed to be this like positivity only guy, but he's not that way when it comes to like fans of music, because now he's tired and cynical, and he's like he's had enough of it, which I'm gonna have to do. Like I said, I'm making a video. I'm gonna have to really organize my thoughts on it and everything like that. It's gonna be different. But this song, introducing Nezi, I like the concept of introducing her, but you can't. You introduced her on a bad song. It feels as though like it's wrong to be doing someone a favor and then do it on a song that isn't going to get as many streams as, like, you're giving them less of an opportunity, but you're still giving them an opportunity, which is great. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe other people will like it more, because he still does have a different loyal fan base, but I don't know. I'm going to try to organize my complaints for you. If you're watching this, I'm going to, like, you don't have to DM me or anything and tell me that you saw it, but I would love for you to get my opinion on, I'm going to try to give you, like, valid criticism and real an understanding of what I think happened to your career. And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I'm still a fan of Logic. At the end of the day, I'm really happy that we got the albums that we did get. He was a big part of me, you know, throughout high school and everything like that. Even now I go back to his songs. He's still one of my most streamed artists every single year. I'm a fan of Logic. You don't have to be doing music that I enjoy anymore. You already did it. The Incredible True Story, Under Pressure, and the songs before that, some of the Sinatra albums. You gave me plenty to work with. You don't have to give me any more. But I would like to have just a clear dialogue between us older fans, or whatever you want to call us, and Logic, of what our actual complaints are. And also, I want you to drop Vibe with me. But that's a whole nother story. We're going to go on to the next song. Oh, Orville, we already listened to. Carnival. Alright, obviously I just had a long spiel about Logic, but back to Carnival. I feel as though I have to come back to this track because I'm a bit annoyed after everything that I just said. But again, Logic, he's just saying, like, these whatever, I'm gonna try again. These reporters, or whatever you want to say, these fans, these haters, criticizing me, they just can't stop talking about me, stuff like that. And it's like, bro, that's not a good thing. That doesn't, like, yes, you're gonna do numbers for some people if they talk about you. Some people hating on you are just hating on you because they're disappointed, or anything like that. It doesn't always have to be like these guys. I don't know what you hold over them because they're talking about you. Yes, you're successful. Yes, you were successful. No one questioned that or anything. And you've said this a million times. Like, hearing it on every song isn't that special. I want to know, what new do you have to talk about right now? Which is real easy for me to say. It's you know, obviously I'm not the one making the music. It would be hard to not run out of topics or not mention this when this is something that impacts you a lot, is what it seems like is the case with Logic. But it's just like, bro, it feels like we've had albums of him doing this, of just being like, yo, F these people who said this about me. I'm tired of it. You keep talking about me. Look where I'm at. And be like, I came from the bottom and I did all this. It's like, bro, like, you're not saying it in the ways that you used to say it. It feels as though like you want validation, or like this, you feel validated, which is fine, but you don't need to constantly feel the need to validate yourself over and over again. It seems like you're insecure. It seems like you're insecure with your music, and that's tough. We're going to go on to the next one, Lena's Insight, which is probably going to be another interlude. Then Vinyl Days, I'm pretty sure we already listened to, so I guess I'll go to I Guess I Love It featuring The Game. Who knows? For whatever reason, I wasn't able to keep my reaction to I Guess I Love It by The Game and Logic, but I thought it was alright. I feel like what he's talking about throughout the song, Logic particularly, was pretty good, but I don't know if it's exactly the type of track I'm going to go back to so much. This is after, like, hours after I've already listened to the full thing, so I'm just going to more talk about the album in the review and not really the specific song. Alright, Sayonara is an excellent track. It's him saying goodbye to Def Jam, and I can't complain about it at all. He does a thank you to a whole lot of people. He talks a little bit about his experience over at Def Jam. He has someone talk at the end. I think that had something to do with signing Logic, but it also kind of sounded like Anthony Fantano. Not sure who it is. It doesn't really matter. Not any complaints about that track. For my review of everything, I'm just going to take a step back. I'm going to look at how many songs I want to add, look at how many interludes were on the album, because I've mentioned that quite a few times. And I'll give you like a little bit more informed of one. I'm going to take a little minute to think about it, jot down some things, and I'll get back to you. Alright, now that I've taken the last 4.5 hours to fully edit this video, I've listened to a bit more of the songs over and over again. I've listened to the interludes, everything like that. It's about 20 songs on the album is what I came up with. I'm adding about 6 of them, and it might go down to 5 of them because I'm adding the Rust one back, which I had added before and I removed it. I don't know how many of these I'm going to keep. I don't think this is Logic's best album ever. It's nowhere near The Incredible True Story. It's nowhere near Under Pressure. I won't even say it's near Bobby Tarantino 3, honestly. I think this is a step back for Logic. This is one of the more... He's trying to do his old style, but he didn't do his old style, so I don't exactly know what he's talking about by that. He almost went far before it to a style that, as far as I know, he never did. Logic isn't who he used to be, but I feel as though the main thing that kind of ruined this album for me, as you could tell going through it, I said I liked multiple of the individual songs, but towards the end, you could see my mood like go down during the video, because it was just him repeating the same things over and over again about being frustrated with the fans and he doesn't care what the critics say and everything like that. And I know I made fun of him a bit for it, but this is where his headspace is at. And I have to say, Logic, potentially more than any other rapper, without them like very much deserving some type of stuff thrown towards their name, Logic did get kind of unfairly trashed on by a lot of rap fans. So it could be just that that's the headspace he's in, so that's what he's going to write about, because it happens with a lot of artists. You'll notice if something really controversial happens with an artist, their music might go from really happy to really dark and everything like that. So it seems as though Logic has just gotten in his head to a ridiculous extent with everything to do with the fans and the critics and the criticism, and I feel bad for him in that regard. With that being said, as I said before, I'm going to make a video kind of looking and listening to Logic's entire discography and figuring out what I would say happened to him if you were a fan from the start. If you were a fan from the middle of his career, I'm going to try to explain why the fans who have been with him the entire time say he's changed and say that his music isn't anywhere near what it used to be. And it seems as though the different categories of fans, the ones who were with him from the start of his career, can't stand the middle or the end of it, and the ones who were with him with the middle just seem to support him more than anybody and not understand what these other guys could possibly be talking about. So I am going to be making a video on that. In terms of this album, I'm going to say it was a little bit of a disappointment. For 30 songs, I was hoping this would be the type of, with this many tracks, I was really thinking there was a chance this puts Logic back on the map, but I don't see that being what happens. With that being said, I hope you enjoy and let me know what you guys think.